Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, Daphne.
Hi, glad you could join us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Nice to meet you,
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Good evening.
Justin.
Hi, Justin.
Hi. I had some emergency dental work, so like half my jaw is numb
Oh,
right now. So if I sound a little weird, that's why.
gosh. I'm glad it seems to be pretty minor for emergency dental work, so that's good.
Yeah, it just snuck up on me. I had a chipped tooth.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't sound fun.
No, no. It's always, the perfect timing, right? Like,
You're right.
Um, Daphne, I know Steve Schulfer is prepared to speak on our design plans.
Okay.
Is there an opportunity for me to speak within a time limit just to kind of give some background?
Yeah, definitely. Once we open the public hearing, we'll give, if any of your neighbors, come to the meeting. I haven't really heard much from, any of the other property owners, but
Yeah,
after that, we'll open the floor for
so
Steve
I
and
can,
anyone on the team. Yeah.
okay, so I can raise my hand and
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
hmm hmm
Says archive today exchange, but these look like mailboxes within a mail
John, we
program.
can we can hear your there seems to be some background noise.
So if you want the lawyer email, that one inbox, you have to click that.
hey, John,
But just
John,
all
it
combined.
sounds like it sounds like we're hearing your conversation on the call
Yeah,
here.
I don't think I want to do
Is there a
that.
way to mute him,
I'm
Daphne,
not
for right now?
Yes,
sure.
I can pull that up.
Perfect, thanks.
All right. like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 members. John Wagenke doesn't have a video. And then I think is that Nathan Bond? That's yeah, that looks like Nate. Okay, so we have 4 members with video, which should be good for our quorum. So once 5 o'clock comes around, we should be good to go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Paul.
Daphne, it's Mark. Interestingly, I don't see anybody but you on the screen. Why is that?
Oh, you should be seeing what I'm sharing. Does everyone else see the agenda? Maybe not.
I see the agenda.
I don't have it, Daphne.
No? Okay, let me try again. I'll
Now
stop.
I see people.
Now I see you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now I just see Mark and not the agenda.
That might be, you might have to change
Yeah,
your
I can
Zoom.
check. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll sort of on my settings.
And I'm choosing gallery. Oh, okay. So I just chose, so my computer just rebooted and things apparently have, the settings may have changed. So now I went up to view and then I did gallery and now I can see everybody,
Okay.
including Mike Frank, which cannot be unseen. Hi, Mike.
Evening. Hey, Mark.
I don't see John Wagenke though. I don't think his camera's on.
I'm trying to figure out what to do.
Okay.
Hit
Well,
video,
do you see on the upper right? Do you see on your screen? Do you see a button that says view?
says what, mute?
View, V-I-E-W.
No. Oh yeah, I do.
Oh, well, I'm
View
sorry.
multiple speakers.
Yeah, I meant to say something different. I meant to say the bottom left. Audio
Bottom
at
left.
the bottom left. You see that?
No, but the upper right I do.
So you're probably, it's
I
probably,
think you were right the first time. Let me try it.
well,
No.
I think what's happening is your screen is probably off the page. I had that happen to me too. You have to kind of click and grab your window to move it so that you can see the bottom of the screen, or you have to just narrow your, make your window smaller so that more of it appears.
Well, I've got everybody on now but me, so what do you suggest I do?
You don't see anything at the bottom with options at the bottom of the screen? You don't
Yeah,
see-
raise
Oh.
hand, share, apps, more, participants,
Oh,
video, audio.
yeah, video. That's the button you want.
Okay,
So click on the arrow there.
I'm clicking. Zoom is unable to detect the camera.
Oh, well, that would be, do you have a camera on your computer or laptop?
I do. It's right here in front of me.
Daphne, do you have any ideas?
I'm not that good to look at anyway.
Well, we have a policy that to be an active member of a committee, you have to have your camera on. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, I think video.
Yeah, if you hit that tiny up arrow next to video, it'll
There's
come up
not-
with some options.
Yeah, but there's not an arrow there.
Oh, you don't have an arrow?
It's just a camera with a red line through it.
Can you just click on on that camera? Just click it once.
I did.
Well, you must not have your camera configured then. I don't know how to help beyond that. Um,
Sign in. Zoom is unable
Well,
to
we
detect.
obviously recognize your voice. We know you're present. It's whatever. Um,
I'm present, but I can't get this to work, so.
understood.
Do we need to make note of that in the minutes, Mark?
Well, I don't remember how formal the policy, and actually, does that policy only apply to, no, I think it applies to all committees, doesn't it, Daphne?
Yeah, but we still have quorum
Right.
either way. And so we'll make a note of it in the minutes, just that he's not with video.
All right, I'm fine with that too. It's obvious that John is present, so. Okay,
All right, well, we do have a quorum, correct? So let's start the zoning board of appeals meeting at 5:02. So we call the meeting to order. Um, Does anybody have any other items that they would like to bring up? Any of the board members? If not, then have all the board members had an opportunity to review the meeting minutes from our last meeting? And do you have any comments?
Reviewed and no comments from me.
Okay. If there are no other comments, then I will approve the meeting minutes as submitted. So they are approved. And Daphne, would you be able to read the agenda item that we have before us this evening?
Sure, yeah. So our agenda item is for 2115 to 2211 North Pleasant View Road. Steve Shelfer with Sketchworks Architecture on behalf of the owner, Frank Liquor Company, is requesting a variance from the maximum impervious surface ratio, ISR, allowed in the medium industrial zoning district for the purpose of constructing an addition to a legally non-conforming structure. The existing property has an ISR of 84%, and this expansion would increase the ISR to 87%. Section 10.02427 limits the maximum ISR to 80% on the lot, and section 10.0533C states that non-conforming structures may not be enlarged, expanded, or extended without bringing the enlargement, expansion, or extension into compliance with the provisions of this chapter, or unless a variance is granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Daphne. If there aren't any other members of the public that are in attendance this evening, just to let you know that we'll open up the hearing portion of the meeting. The applicant or the representative will then present the case to us. There will be some discussion and you will have an opportunity to comment at a time after that. So at this point at 5:05, we'll open the public hearing. Daphne, you've already read the application. Do you or the city or anybody have any other additional information to include for this variance?
I will just note that we did not receive any written notification from any of the property owners nearby.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the other zoning board members need to abstain for various reasons? The silence tells me that's a no. So then I believe we have a couple representatives for the variance on the call tonight. So either Mike or Steve, can you please introduce yourself and proceed with describing the variance?
I'm Mike Frank, CEO of Frank Beverage, and Steve, if you're okay, I'll just kind of give the background first. Okay. Well, thank you for the time and the opportunity to talk about our business and our proposed project. I'm Mike Frank, CEO of Frank Beverage Group, part of the fourth generation of our family business, based here in Middleton. Our partner, Steve Shelfer from Sketchworks, is going to present our design plans, but I wanted to share a bit of our history and our investment in our facilities here in Middleton. My family's business began in the Madison area in 1913 with a grocery store. That transitioned into a produce distributorship, and that eventually morphed into a wine, beer, and liquor distributorship at the repeal of Prohibition in 1933. In 1972, we relocated our business, Frank Liquor Company, to Middleton, one of the original occupants of the industrial park on what was then Evergreen Road. We've gone through multiple additions to our current facility, the first in 1979, again in 1991, and again in 2006 when we purchased our adjacent neighbor, which was a 7-Up distributorship. And we built a major addition with Brett Newcomb, adding new offices, and additional warehouse capacity. In 2009, we utilized Newcomb again with another major addition, nearly doubling our square footage to the current 232,000 square feet. And in 2016, we utilized Newcomb to construct our sales support center, which is on 8511 University Green. That's a block away from our main building. It's visible on the intersection in University Avenue in Pleasant View. It's a 16,000 square foot building that really houses our support functions, things that we can't fit in Pleasant View. And we did this to extend the useful life of our Pleasant View headquarters. Middleton remains our corporate headquarters to our nearly 950 employees statewide. Our business has expanded immensely over the years. We're now one of the top 20 beer distributors in the country, out of a field of around 2,000. We have other businesses and warehouses in Milwaukee and La Crosse. Our largest facility is in Milwaukee at nearly 400,000 square feet. That services the Milwaukee Metro. But we've continued to invest in our satellite warehouses that support our Middleton operation. Again, in effect, to extend the life expectancy of our Pleasant View warehouse. Satellite warehouses that support Middleton include Milton, another in Fenimore, and we just built a brand new satellite warehouse in Baraboo, which we opened up last month to relieve pressure on our Middleton warehouse. And I know it's just the committee members on this call, but I want to extend an invitation to all of you. I always like touring our facility. Middleton's home to around 300 of our team members. We store around 700,000 cases of wine, spirits, and beer here on Pleasant View. We've invested in industry-leading state-of-the-art material handling systems that allows our Middleton operation to handle about 8.5 million cases of beer, wine, and spirits annually. We're proud that our nearly statewide business remains based here in Middleton. Thanks again for the time tonight, opportunity to talk about our business, and then I'll let Steve walk you through our proposal for the designs. Thank you.
Well, as Mike presented, Frank Beverage has a long history here in Middleton, and I think that's part of the reason why we find ourselves in this predicament, because as they've grown, as they've invested in technology, and as their facility has expanded, suddenly we find ourselves in this crux of exceeding the impervious area on the lot availability. Prior to the rezoning that happened about a year ago, the impervious area requirement did not exist. And so this problem really was recently created. We're at about 84% impervious area on the entire site right now. In order for Frank Beverage to continue operations appropriately and effectively, we need to expand their facility by about 35,000 square feet, as you can see there on the screen. So our variance today, our variance request, is simply to be able to be allowed to expand above that threshold, understanding that there's a reason for the impervious area. And I think this dates back to the 2018 floods and some of the stormwater management challenges. We do have Wiser Engineering, who has been looking at the site and has created a design solution for stormwater management that would actually improve the current situation using underground storage tanks, which in itself, anybody, you may all well know that that's a very expensive proposition, but it's something that Frank has been willing to do because it's important for them to be able to expand this facility. So I think that's a major factor in us, seeking this variance, is looking for alternative solutions and how can we accommodate the intent of the code, whereas still achieve the operational needs. Looking at the expansion itself, this will be a tilt-up concrete structure. Newcomb Construction, as you know, has done most of the tilt-up on this facility. They've done several other tilt-up buildings in the city. It's a quality building. It's a beautiful building. It serves the purpose of storage and loading. And so I think as you see the elevations, you'll see that it's, it's primarily a shipping and receiving area to accommodate the distribution and storage needs. The site, I think Frank does a very nice job of landscaping where they can, trying to put up screening along the street front. And there's not a whole lot of green space that exists there right now. So as you look at that site plan layout, really the only green space we would be losing currently is where the text on the screen says proposed new loading docks. That's a green space. That would be relocated or I should say that would be repurposed for loading docks. And that's essentially where the underground storage would be going. Daphne, if you change the screen to the next slide, there is sort of a blow up, and this was prepared by Wiser Engineering. It's a little tough to read, but it illustrates for you, where the current green space is and where the stormwater management would be accommodated. So that's the whole thing is rotated now. So north is up on the screen, and Pleasant View Road is to the left. Underground infiltration chambers on the left side underneath the truck drive apron. And this building is really pretty screened from the site now. I know I don't have an image in the packet. I do have it on my screen. But in case anybody's driven by or looked at Google Maps, you can see on the street view that the trees, the parking of the trucks, everything kind of blocks the view of any green space that currently exists anyway. So we don't believe that there's any detriment to the lot at all. And in fact, we're improving the situation with the stormwater solution that we've got. I'll stop talking now. I'm happy to answer questions, but that's what we're seeking.
Thank you, Steve. Does members, do you have any questions for Mike or Steve?
No questions. It's a clear presentation and easily understood, and it all makes sense.
I guess I have a question for Mark or Daphne or you, Paul. Have the city engineers looked at this?
So this was the very first part of the process, is to get a variance, because if they don't get the variance, they can't do the project at all. So the engineer has not yet looked at it, but they have sent this general stormwater plan to our stormwater engineer, Eric Sorensen. And so Eric has taken a look at it, and just generally he believes that this is a improvement to their current stormwater situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has the Water Resource Committee looked at it?
Not yet. So that would be the next step after this variance is
But
granted.
we have to approve it first?
You would have to approve the increase in the impervious surface ratio first. Yes.
If I can
Okay.
add to what Daphne said, this is Mark. So the answer to the question is, has engineering staff looked at it? The answer is that the stormwater engineer has, as Daphne indicated. So I guess I would say that is a yes. And the Water Resources Management Commission is advisory to the stormwater engineer. So I'm not even sure if they're going to be required to review it. That's the only thing I would add to what Daphne said, unless Daphne, you've been told by Eric that Water Resources would need to look at it.
Well, the only question I have is that I think a couple of years ago, this whole area flooded, did it not?
I don't believe, well, Mike Frank would be able to answer that better.
Yeah,
but I'm not aware that
we were not directly impacted in that way in the 2018 floods.
Yeah.
The way the other parts of the industrial park were. We lost power, but that was really it on this side.
Costco is nearby, and that was closed down for several days. And
this is several blocks to the west, and
Yeah.
Costco's a little lower and is by the creek channel.
well, the only question I have is they're already 4% over, and they want to add 3 more. And I guess it would be nice to know that the system they're proposing would be effective for that sort of rain again. I
Understand.
mean, I don't know anything about this system, so I can't address that, but it would be nice to know that all the experts have looked at it and approved it before we put our blessing on it.
Steve, has Weiser provided any calculations, what you're going to be retaining? Because the whole, the impervious surface really wants you to retain water on site so it's not running off your property. So this system is, and we've used this in other projects, so I'm familiar with it. Has Weiser provided calculations as to how much water is going to be retained on site compared to, the impervious surface and everything else, and other Dane County requirements that I would assume that has to be reviewed too?
Yeah, I think Weiser has done some conceptual calculations. They haven't gone through and prepared a full stormwater report.
Yeah, I can jump in here, Steve, too. Wade Wise.
Oh, sorry, Wade, I didn't know you were on the call, so.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries. So what we did was we reached out to Eric to identify what the requirements would be for this proposed addition. And Eric at City Engineering identified what those requirements would be. From there, and they're typical stuff, redevelopment, new development standard stuff that the city would apply to the new impervious area. Not necessarily the site as a comprehensive whole, but specific to the new construction, we identified what the requirements would be. From there, we conceptually sized an underground facility to meet those requirements. And as part of that process, this is then where we uncovered, if you will, or identified the impervious surface ratio. And we at that time then put a stop to it so we could have these conversations we're having now. So we identified what the requirements were. We preliminarily sized it. We have not prepared a formal stormwater management plan, but the size we depict on our screen is consistent with what we were told would be required for the site from a conceptual level.
So you'll still have to validate the size. Wade, if you don't mind, could you just explain for those on the call that may not be familiar with the system, how this operates?
Yeah, it's pretty unique. So if you look on the north side of the existing building where the cursor basically is, yep, there is an existing roof drain that drains what is the existing rooftop all the way to the north. And our intent here would be with interior plumbing in that first green line to intercept that roof drain and send it westerly. And in the area grayed out on the west there, where it says relocated stormwater management underground infiltration chambers, the roof would dump into open bottom chamber system. So there'd be basically a pond below grade with open bottom to promote infiltration. This would all be subsurface. So it would slow it down, it would clean it up, and would put it back into the ground. From there, it would combine with a site bioretention basin to the north, and then head back into storm sewer because everything's got to get to this northeast corner, and we go back under the building and out that northeast corner of the site. That's how it all flows to the northeast corner today. So we're matching that. We're basically taking the rooftop runoff, doing and the new site impervious, doing a little dance with stormwater facilities, and then going back to that same northeast discharge.
So in a big storm event, basically that underground chamber then is retaining that water and it's slowly releasing it.
That is the intent. Yep. That is the intent of the ordinance, and that's the intent of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Paul, this is Dave. I have had some experience with this type of a system where we were developing up in the Dells. And frankly, if the calculations can be determined, and that's beyond our committee, I'm sure, that they are handling their stormwater at no less, but possibly a greater percentage or rate than it is present. The system is good. Actually, you're gonna run off cleaner water than what the situation would be without it. So I like their presentation. I think it was well presented, and I could be in support of this.
I guess I think in concept it all makes sense to me. So we're at 87% right now, and I think it's just a volume thing to me. Like I think if we can with the rest of the impervious portions of the site can get to that 80%, that whatever that volume is, with this additional underground system, I think that's kind of the target in my mind. Is that are those the calculations that you worked out with engineering, or I'm trying to figure out like how much volume is actually in this in comparison, like how much percent of the total lot are we getting to as far as water retention with this system?
So the requirements as we understood them, without first discussing the impervious surface ratio, on a typical site like this, if we were below that impervious threshold, we would be talking about doing stormwater treatment to the new addition, new redeveloped pavement areas. Not necessarily a comprehensive look of something that's been there for decades. So in the concept sizing that we have, Justin, this is specific to the added impervious area of the addition and the pavement area.
So
It
it's
is
like the
certainly going to take
3% about then. Is that correct? Like, because the added area is about 3% of the site, so that's
Yeah, it gets a little
retention that-
trickier in that, it gets a little trickier in that roof drain I was describing that comes out the north end of the existing building,
Yeah,
right? We are taking advantage of saying, hey, look, this water, some of it's treated, some of it goes on its way without getting treated. We're gonna take it through our whole system, because why not? Right?
Sure.
Let's do our best. Even though the system is specifically currently sized for just what's shown as new.
and that roof leader takes it. Sorry, I don't know the pitch of this roof, and sorry if you already mentioned this, but how much, what percentage of that roof actually goes to that leader?
So that's unique, right? The existing roof drain is really deep out there, and it's conveying everything from south to north. And it's significantly below the floor slab. So it's an interior drained structure.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's awnings and small portions of roof that discharge offsite away from that,
Right.
but the majority of that roof gets into that roof drain.
Okay. So, I mean, theoretically, if that roof drain's going into this underground system, you're doing a lot better than 80%.
I mean, theoretically, that's fair to say. We still have work to do, right? I don't want to mislead anyone here.
No, I just in concept, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, right. Because I want to make sure that system doesn't blow it out either, right? So those are the things that I have to look into. Does it need a secondary flow path? All those kind of good things might be in the final design, but theoretically, we could tap into a significant portion of the water generated from the entire roof.
What other Dane County requirements do you have to meet? Wade, do you have to go through a Dane County stormwater review as well?
No, it would just be, Eric and city engineering. If Eric decides to take it to water resources, which he may or may not, we haven't been told one way or the other. The city water resource could be applicable. I mean, Dane County's review in this will be erosion control only, not necessarily stormwater, as a typical city project would be. And I don't think we're at the, well, we probably will be at the acre threshold, so we'll have the DNR looking at this as well.
Are there other questions for Mike, Wade, or Steve? And are there any comments from anyone else on the call that would like to comment? Okay, well, I guess with that, we'll close the public portion of the meeting, and we'll open it up for deliberation between committee members. Any thoughts?
Do you need a motion?
I would start by saying it's a complete presentation again. It's thoughtful, looks like it's engineered, and it all makes sense. I don't have any questions. I don't have any reservations about it.
This is John Waganke. I do have a concern. I would like to say that if we are going to approve it, that we approve it contingent upon the approval from the water resources and whatever other bodies need to review it, and not just give our approval now and then they go and say to them, well, the variance committee approved it, so. I think we should have that feedback, in my opinion, before we approve it. But
Mark or Daphne, have you, any thoughts on that? If there's commentary or approval by the water resources before we grant a variance, or do we have to agree to the variance and then they'll continue with the review?
Yeah, it is kind of like a chicken or egg situation at this point because, you know, this project, it'll have to go through, you know, plan review and, you know, stormwater plan review, like any other project. And so, they just wanted to know if it was possible with the variance first, because if they can't get the variance, then there's really no point in going through plan review and stormwater review. And so that's why we brought it here first. And you know, if the contingency is added, I mean, I don't know if it would change much because it would still have to go through plan review and stormwater review either way. And either way, they would have to, you know, meet all of those requirements. So, yeah, I'm not sure if Mark has any input on this, but I think it could go either way if you add that contingency or not, since they'll have to do it either way.
I would add simply that a contingency that the calculations, as indicated by Wade Wise, that thered be no increase in the effective impervious area, that it would actually a finding that this would improve the porosity of the site. You know, I think that's an important factor to consider. The lot as a whole has to be considered under the zoning board of appeals procedures, variance procedures. You should consider the entire property. And if there's benefits that are being described, I think having that be a contingency of approval is certainly appropriate. It ideally would be measurable in some way, but I think we can understand that what they're proposing as the technical solution here would improve the impervious, would improve stormwater management for the entire site.
Okay. I do have a question for Wade. Can I ask a question of the applicants, Mark or Daphne?
Sure. Yeah, for clarification.
Wade, when you're sizing these systems, do you put in a factor of safety for like a 100-year storm, which are becoming more frequent?
So in the modeling itself, Paul, the amount of rainfall that falls in the 100-year storm is always being updated, you know, as it changes over the years. So generally, stormwater models are pretty conservative, the intensity at which they fall and things of that nature. So I would say we are current with the statistical amount of rainfall during a 100-year storm event. And as that amount changes, the modeling changes with it, if that makes sense.
It does.
And I would like to further clarify, you know, Mark's comments. I would encourage everyone to consider if there were to be stormwater requirements implemented by this body above and beyond or different from the city's ordinance or what we've been directed by Eric. So as it relates to talking about this 3% versus the rest of the site, all those kind of good things, I would ask that you refer a specific comment like that back to city engineering so that the language isn't something that's not achievable. So that would be our comment from the developer side.
Great. Thank you. Other discussion from committee members? I think, you know, I'm familiar with the systems. And I certainly think you know, it's a tried and true tested system. And I think it certainly will help the runoff of this parcel. And, you know, looking at the larger Google map before, I mean, this is in a warehouse district and the surrounding parcels are maxed out as well. So I think, you know, by what we vote on tonight, I think that sets a precedent then for other area projects if they're moving forward with how they're going to have to mitigate stormwater runoff.
I would agree, Paul. I think that if more developers would take this approach, we'd have less of a stormwater issue in the future.
Are there other comments? If not, then I'll open the floor for a vote.
Move
What's
to
the motion?
The motion to approve the variance to exceed the well, they're currently non-conforming at 84%, so they'd be impervious up to 87% with, the conditions that you mentioned, John, about getting, complying with the stormwater engineers and water resource committee.
I'm okay making that motion, Paul.
Okay. Before we, go any further, then, the stated hardships would be the density of the site. The new stormwater code going into effect after, this property has been in operation for decades. And do we have a second?
second.
That was Bob Mangus, Daphne.
Thanks.
Quick question, if I may, Paul.
Sure.
Steve, Wade, and Mike, when did you start working on this addition again, your plans?
It was about 2 months ago, Mark. Something like that.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you.
Mhm. So Daphne, I think, the verbiage would be that, the zoning board of appeals would grant the variance, for the 87% impervious surface, with, the implementation of their bioretention subsurface, and, on the condition that they meet the water resource and stormwater engineers requirements.
Okay.
And I think we could also add and retain more water on site than is currently being provided, or something to that effect.
You mean like that the project itself, that the construction of this addition
Does
enabled?
not add any runoff to the already dense site.
And has the potential to actually mitigate some of the existing impervious areas, what I've heard, but maybe I didn't hear that quite right.
No, I think that's right, but just adding that language in there that it's going to be better off after this project than before, as far as
Right, they're going to be
runoff.
slowing the rate of runoff
Correct.
with the subsurface system. Mhm.
And if it weren't for the addition, I mean, the addition and the ability to grow the business there helps enable that paying for that system. I mean, money itself is not a consideration, but the system,
No.
the mitigation of the existing impervious area would not happen without this addition. I mean, it could, but there's no requirement for that to happen because of the non-conforming status, and
Mhm.
the city can't require the mitigation for stormwater management purposes, but the addition provides the opportunity for the developer, for the business, for the property owner to make the improvements that would lead to a benefit to the existing condition. I guess you see the point I'm trying to make?
Yeah.
So I think from what I've heard, from what Wade and the other speakers have testified, we are going to end up with a better stormwater management environment than we would have without a project. Does that reflect the summary of what we've heard?
That's what I understand it to be as well.
Okay.
As well.
So I think, having that be a basis of granting the variance would be important to document.
Thanks for that clarification, Mark.
So Paul, I think we already had a motion in a second. Do
We
want-
did, so do we have a vote? Signified, I guess that's by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? No, so then the motion to grant the variance is approved on we have 4 or 5.
I believe it's 5.
Okay, on a vote of 5-0. So congratulations.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you. So then we'll close the meeting at 5:37, and if there's no other comments or considerations, we'll adjourn, and we don't have to take a vote.
To adjourn, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Great.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you,
night
everybody.
now.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.